the potential of the India-UK relationship is tremendous. I think, I think it's time now to stop talking of potential. I mean, it's 20 years we've been talking of potential. We've got to talk about implementation. As you said on the defense side, we're going to talk about delivery, impact,
Yeah.
policy relevance. I mean, potential is 20 years, potential. Potential is over now. Now we talk about delivery.
Welcome to the Gist on Strat News Global. I'm Surya Gangadharan. Our focus is on the India-UK free trade agreement, and that was signed a little while ago in the UK, in London. Prime Minister Modi is there, and we have standing by in London Rahul Roy Chaudhury of the International Institute for Strategic Studies. Rahul, let's come quickly to the point. What are what's your immediate reaction to this agreement?
Well, Surya, I think clearly this is a win-win for both countries. This is a complex and an ambitious free trade agreement that has been signed by India and the United Kingdom. It's taken over 3.5 years in the making. It's taken two British governments to begin negotiations on the FTA with the Modi government in India, and then to deliver with the Modi government again, but with the Labour government under Sir Keir Starmer as Prime Minister. So the significance of this trade deal also is that this is the first major trade deal that the UK has signed after Brexit, which took place 5 years ago. And it is the first significant trade deal that India has signed with the West ever. As you know, there was a smaller trade deal a few years ago with some North European countries like Liechtenstein, but this is the most significant trade deal India has signed with the West.
What about the one with the US?
So the UK has signed recently a trade deal with the US, and that's an important trade deal for the UK. But when we look at the complexity of the India-UK trade deal, which I'm told reliably it goes into 1,200 pages of text and details, this is a far, far more complex trade deal that the UK signed with India than it has with the US. So that is important because the complexity of the trade deal also means the greater endurance of the bilateral trade deal. Secondly, for the UK, the US has always been, as we know, it's very strong, reliable, a first partner in many ways. For the UK, India, that is now the fifth largest economy in the world, fourth largest economy in the world, going to become the third largest fast in the next year or two, is really an important aspect for the UK, not only in terms of jobs and boosting the UK economy, but also telling the UK domestic people that after Brexit, this is what the UK wanted to do. Cut trade deals with countries like India, and finally, 10 months after the Sir Keir Starmer government took over, it has done that with India.
So this has been negotiated over two governments, in a sense, bipartisan support, if you want to call it that.
Absolutely. I mean, I think it is significant because, as you remember, when Boris Johnson was the Conservative Prime Minister in the UK, he was talking of trade deals being signed, and there was the whole thing, get a trade deal by Diwali, etc. Two Diwalis had sort of passed. But the Labour Party then in opposition always supported trade relations with India. And when they came into government in June last year, the view was that they would examine what the Conservative Party had done. And I think they did about 95% of the trade deal. But what was most important was that when they examined what the Conservative Party had done with India, the Conservative government, they did not go back on it. And instead they said, okay, let's go forward. And so you're absolutely right. It is a bipartisan support that the India-UK trade deal has from the UK side.
Mhm. So the details of the thing are still awaited. But what's your sense of that one of the big takeaway, for the UK? What did they gain?
So the UK gains, I think, two or three things. The first is that tariffs, the tariffs for UK exports to India have come down from an average 15% to 3% in this trade deal, and this includes one way sort of one way sort of laugh at it, but most important in many ways is Scotch. So
Right.
the UK export of Scotch to India, which, as we all know, Surya, is 150%, in India. That has now come down to, I think, about much less. In fact, it's come down to about 50, 45%, and will become lower. So that is one aspect. The second aspect is in terms of boosting UK growth, the economy, but most importantly, jobs in the UK economy. And that's really important for the Sir Keir Starmer government. And thirdly, it is really sort of a political message that the UK is sending to India that, after considerable ups and downs of the UK-India relationship that you know very well,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
there is the momentum now to develop the relationship, to develop greater mutual trust. I say greater mutual trust between the two countries, to take the relationship to a much higher level, including in areas such as defense, security, technology. And that is why we have today the announcement for the first time of Vision 2035.
Hmm. So exactly what is this Vision 2035? Is it been spelt out?
No, it hasn't yet been spelled out. But if you remember, when the comprehensive strategic partnership was agreed between the two governments, the Conservative government and Prime Minister Modi, there was a roadmap, which was a sort of 10-year roadmap into 2030. And that roadmap had various aspects, including defense, technology, education, etc. My sense is that what we have today now is a renewed, comprehensive strategic partnership. And note the sort of the importance of the word renewed with this Labour government in the UK. And instead of a roadmap, what we have is a vision, and
Hmm.
that vision I expect will include areas like defense and security, technology, climate change, people to people relations, education. So really to indicate very clearly and strongly that the India-UK relationship is a comprehensive strategic relationship underpinned by the what is called the living bridge, the Indian diaspora, which is about 1.8 million people today in the UK.
Hmm. When we talk of strategic partnership, normally, from what I'm told, it means a couple of big projects that they do together, defense strategic related. Is there something there that you can mention?
So, Surya, I don't know if I should say this on your program, but my twin brother Rajiv and I wrote an op-ed in the Economic Times
Yeah,
yesterday in
yeah.
India, and in the op-ed we actually examined some of the challenges and opportunities that UK PLC, the UK British Defence Industry, has in relation to India and the UK government as well. But the bottom line was that there is a possibility, a strong possibility of significant defense and security partnerships and deals with India, not because not that there are no challenges on this on the Indian side
Yeah,
for
yeah.
foreign OEMs,
Mhm.
original equipment manufacturers, but the fact that other countries and other companies in other countries have actually made tremendous progress in these
True.
deals. And so, what we argued is that there needs to be possibly a greater risk appetite uh, by UK companies in relation to investing in India and working with India. There needs to be also greater mutual trust between the two governments. And in this respect, I want to sort of point out something that very often people have missed, which is that the UK last month brought out two significant reviews, which are the sort of strategic reviews for this Labour government. The first was the UK Strategic Defence Review that was launched, and essentially it made it clear that whereas the UK's defence and security priority was NATO first, it did
Yeah.
not mean it was NATO only, and that other countries really would also have an important part to play in relation to the UK's strategic relationships. And secondly, was the national security strategy of the UK that also came out last month. And significantly, let me just read one sentence from this, which says, and this is, and I'm saying this because this really underpins the potential of that defense and security partnership that you talked about with India. And it states that India is a country with which the UK seeks a genuine strategic partnership, reflecting its growing importance in the international system. So, my sense is that the UK government and the UK Ministry of Defence, the Foreign Office, Cabinet Office have taken a view that they want to engage with India deeply, despite the NATO first focus. And it is really a question of how to ensure that there's mutual interest and a win win between India and the UK on defence, as there has been between India and the UK on trade.
Is India seen as a challenging market for British defense companies?
Absolutely, it is. It is. The last major platform deal, and I'm saying platform deal between India and the UK took place 15 years ago with the second tranche of the Hawk
Yeah.
aircraft, BAE Systems Hawk aircraft into India. There have been other deals since then, smaller deals that have taken place. But India is seen as a challenging defense environment for the UK in two ways. I think one is there is something that people have talked about called the three I challenges. Challenges in terms of India's Atmanirbhar Bharat,
Mhm.
Atmanirbhar Bharat defense policy of indigenous content, of investment in that sense, and the issues of joint ventures, and also the question of intellectual property rights. The three
Right,
I
yeah.
challenge. So that is one thing. The second is that UK companies have other business. I mean, their stocks are full. They're not waiting to do business with India. The Russia-Ukraine war, the Middle East, has sort of provided opportunities, export opportunities for them. So again, this is another sort of aspect that is not clearly sort of understood. And finally, UK PLC, unlike the French or the Russians, are not sort of directed by the British government, and it's really
Mhm.
tough to understand that. But they're not part of the British government structure. So, even if the British government would like, as it says in the review, a strategic relationship with India, it would want to have this really strong deal with India, or as you said, a significant deal. It is up to UK PLC to decide whether it's worth it for their shareholders, not
Okay.
necessarily for the interests of the government, which is very different from how the French played or the Russians played. So there are challenges which are intrinsic to the UK defense
Mhm.
industry in relation to India, but there is again optimism that there is a reform underway in India of the defense acquisition process
Yeah.
DAP, and that is looked at on the UK side very positively, because in the last few years there have been huge gaps in India's procurement impact in terms of Atmanirbhar Bharat for defense, and clearly the Modi government would want to overcome the deficiencies of DAP in the last few years, and that could possibly, whenever the reform DAP comes out, it could be important for the UK industry to take advantage of it. So we're in this inflection point really, where
Mhm.
post the trade deal on defense and security issues, the UK is expecting to have that additional greater mutual trust and opportunities, depending on defense reforms in India, to actually solidify the relationship on defense, which is an important part of Vision 2035 between the two countries.
Rahul, you look at the defense sector very closely, and there is a perception here in India that perhaps the UK does not have much to offer. You know, I mean, the British Hawk you mentioned, yes, that was a long time ago, and the sense is British industry perhaps has gone down in that sense. Is that accurate?
So I think it's relative, right? I mean, it's of course you can't compare UK defense industry to the Americans, and say,
Yeah,
well, the
absolutely.
US can do this, and what can the UK do? That's not
Yeah.
that's not pragmatic and realistic either. So I think it is really important to understand what are the key items, the sort of the systems, subsystems that the UK is looking for, to provide to India, and what India wants also. That's really important.
Mhm.
And there are three or four areas where there has been a lot of progress. One area clearly is on electric propulsion, naval electric propulsion, by
Mhm.
UK companies, to India, particularly for the Navy. A joint working group has been formed between the two countries. From the UK side, GE, General Electric, and Rolls Royce are involved. And the idea here is really going to be significant if this really quickens the pace of travel on this, of really impacting naval propulsion in India to the future, because electric propulsion is really the future of naval propulsion. So that's
Mhm.
one thing that is potentially hugely significant. The second is a long-standing sort of program that Rolls-Royce has with the GTRE, the DRDO organization, for jet engine technology, where Rolls-Royce and GTRE are working together for a jet engine for the next generation of Indian fighter aircraft. There is a tremendous amount also to be done on maritime security issues, on
Mhm.
underwater sensors, that are really important for India as it expands its own influence in the Indian Ocean. The UK's technology on underwater sensors are arguably the best in the world. So it's what I'm saying is it's important to identify niche areas of technology, of partnership, of industrial cooperation between India and the UK, to really move to move it from a discussion to an implementation stage. Clearly, we are not going to see a big bang effect, of
Yeah.
another huge platform sale between the UK and India.
Mhm.
But anyone who talks about that is not being realistic, because that is not, what the UK's sort of strengths are. We've got to identify what the UK strengths are and what India needs, from those
Mhm.
strengths, to really build a stable, secure, and deep partnership into the Vision 2035 perspective.
Mhm. And this issues like TOT and all that that we demand, IPR, these have to be negotiated going forward.
So on the engine, jet engine technology, IP is a key issue, but Rolls-Royce has made it clear many times that this will be an IP jointly developed, but it'll be an IP for India, and that's really important because India will have the intellectual property for that engine. Yes, I mean
Mhm.
this is part of the 3I challenge of intellectual property, being one of them. Yes, there are challenges on technology, on indigenous technology, as well. To how do you get to the 60% IC that
Yeah.
India's Atmanirbhar Bharat sort of policy requires? You can't do it straight away. Possibly, you could do it over the time period of the platform, of the system development. But there are also, to be realistic, there are technologies that the UK has, which it will not be willing to share with India or any other country. I mean, this is what provides the UK PLC the technological edge. So
Yeah.
there will
Yeah.
be technologies it will be willing to share. There will be certain technologies that it will not be willing to share. But then the question is, which other country is willing to share such
Yeah.
technology? We know
Mm.
that the US does not share it's not going to, it has never done so, etc.
Yeah.
Russia, yes, I think there could be a case, but Russia, I think was more in the past in that sense. In the future, I think that
Yeah.
relationship will be limited. Israel, there's not much known about it. But the point I'm making is that, yes, we have to understand that there will be certain critical technology that the UK companies who've taken years and millions and billions of pounds to develop will not want to share it with India. But, my point is, how can we get around this? I mean, is this going to be a deal breaker? Or not. Because in other cases we've seen, where is the technology? Where is the critical
Yeah.
technology that France has shared with India, for example, or the Americans? We don't see it. My point is that once you build greater mutual trust, you can have these discussions, honest discussions, I think, and.
Hmm.
If I can say this again, Surya, on your program, the IISS has partnered, as you know, with Bharat Shakti to host a series of Track 1.5 dialogues
Yeah.
between India and the UK, exactly on these issues of defense technology,
Mhm.
how to bring, to people, governments, business, and experts together to discuss each other these issues privately, confidently, and we hope to have the next dialogue, the fourth, in Delhi in the next few months.
So, when we leaving aside defense, there's a reference to energy and climate change technologies too. Britain has some expertise here, specialized expertise.
Yes, I mean, Britain has expertise in technology relating to climate change
Hmm.
issues, and those are it has such a strong research and innovation base. The UK, there's a tremendous amount of funding that's taken place, through decades. There are universities here that are doing amazing research, innovative research into these areas of climate change, for example, energy. And that is again an area that my sense is India will be taking advantage of in
Hmm.
relation to the post, FTA agreement, where in the Vision 2035 document, when it comes out and when we see it, we'll focus on these areas because these are areas where the UK has done so much work, innovative, relations between universities, research aspects,
Yeah.
IITs in India and research-led universities in the UK are hugely important. We haven't really, we've tapped this, but we haven't really worked closely together in
Hmm.
terms of a greater bilateral relationship. It has been ad hoc, it's been tactical, it has not been strategic.
Hmm.
So I would argue that this provides an opportunity to be strategic in engaging with India, engaging with the UK on climate change, technology issues, energy, in relation to the technologies that the UK has developed and worked with, and do something together again moving forward.
Last word, Rahul. We now have an FTA. Details are awaited, but way forward, what do you see happening in the next few years, assuming both the governments move quickly to start implementing it? I'm told that will take time.
So I think So I've all Surya, I've been, as you know, living in the UK for over 20 years now. We've every senior Indian official who comes to the UK says, listen, the potential of the India UK relationship is tremendous. I think I think it's time now to stop talking of potential. I mean, it's 20 years we've been talking of potential. We've got to talk about implementation. As you said on the defense side, we don't got to talk about delivery, impact,
Yeah.
policy relevance. I mean, potential is 20 years, potential is over now. Now we
Hmm.
talk about delivery. And I think the first thing is this has to come, as you know better than I do, Surya, from the political leadership
Yeah,
in both
absolutely.
countries. And I would sort of look forward to a visit, the first visit as Prime Minister by Sir Keir Starmer to India. that hasn't taken place as yet.
Yeah.
I expect this to take place by the end of the year, and that will be an important first step. And I think when we see the final documents that come out later today, I'm confident there will be a mention of the Indian Prime Minister Modi inviting Sir Keir Starmer to India. So it's important that Sir Keir Starmer gets to India in the next 6 months, or 4 to 6 months, for example.
Mm.
That provides the political momentum, the political heft in this. And then there is the hard work that has to be done by the ministers in both countries, but also by the high commissioners in both countries. I mean, both countries, have fantastic high commissioners. Vikram Duraswamy is in India. The Indian High Commissioner in UK is exceptional,
Yeah.
and for the India-UK relationship, and so is the British High Commissioner in India. So, and finally, there has to be, very importantly, I think there has to be a sort of a compact between India and the UK in bringing together the experts, the government, the business
Yeah.
community, people vested in moving the relationship forward. We haven't seen that as yet, really. It hasn't
Mm.
really gone deep in both countries. There needs to be more joint, senior organizations in terms of business, in terms of strategic ties, in terms of foreign policy. For India and the UK to share perspectives on strategic issues, neighborhood, beyond, etc. Remember, I mean, India will be the third largest economy in the next year or two. So I think there is, it's now implementation time. The potential is over. We've got to see delivery, and we've got to see it be politically led, but also implemented below the political level.
On that note, Rahul Roy Chaudhury, on that optimistic note, let's see how this goes forward. And I think the political direction is there. The will is also there on both sides. And it's the implementation now that is awaited. Let's looking forward to Keir Starmer's visit too. That'll be another important item on this diplomatic agenda here in Delhi. Rahul, thanks very much for your perspective and great listening to you again after a long time. Thanks very much.
Surya, a privilege and a pleasure always to be interviewed by you. Thank you.
That's all we have for you on this broadcast. Do subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on social media. Thank you very much. Good day.